Let's be quite direct about this. Okay, so in this particular picture, everybody appears to be Muslim. And it is true that the Muslim community have taken a very great interest in the Palestinian issue, even though it's not really a religious issue. It's an issue of basic human rights. I'm not Muslim. I have no desire to be a Muslim. But I can see that the Palestinians have been shockingly treated. Here's a sign, 75 years of illegal occupation. How would you like it? The support for Palestinians is quite a broad one. It also includes lots of decent people who are not Muslim, who can recognise a great injustice. But the bottom line is that the anti-Semitism stuff is just a way to protect Israel from legitimate criticism. I mean, Netanyahu is a really awful, wicked person. No other leader in any other country who had policies similar to him would be given so much leeway. There's no criticism from almost all the socialist parties in the EU. Starmer is very supportive of Netanyahu, right? It's very strange. Just because people are Jewish, I mean, there's a video of a Jewish politician in America who is being questioned about his policies. He's supposed to be Homeland Security. And of course, in America, there are no border controls at all. Very similar to the UK, where Masonic RNLI is people smuggling, basically. The same people who will later be accused of terrorism, anti-Semitism, rape, grooming, that kind of thing, murder. They are going to be, I mean, who knows, maybe this guy who supposedly jumped off Chelsea Bridge, maybe he also was brought in by the RNLI. Are they going to take responsibility? How on earth is it legal for a lifeboat cruise to rescue people committing illegal acts? Did they, it's, as far as I'm concerned, anyone who arrives in the UK in such a manner should be treated as an enemy, right? They should be treated as if they were armed and treated accordingly. So the Zionists have been getting away with mass murder for decades, and it's almost impossible to call them out on it because they control pretty much everything. The administrations of universities, the ownership of sports teams, pretty much all the media, TV, radio, cinema, news companies, newspapers, whether it's the Daily Mail, the Guardian, the Independent, the Daily Telegraph, the Daily Mirror, the Sun, they're all pro-Zionist. And of course, the Zionists, one of the reasons why they wanted to import so many Muslims, because they are the root cause of open borders. Not only do they create the chaos in the Middle East that creates refugees and immigrants, destroying their economy, they also, and this is important, lobby very heavily for immigration. You can see, you keep getting all these Jewish, Zionist Jews online who say, oh, look at the Muslims, Israel is the last bulwark against all these Muslims. Yeah, so we're helping. Hang on a minute, it was you who wanted them in the first place. So Israel is pointing to the enemy that they created for us and claiming that we should support them because they created a problem for us. And this is the problem that Muslims never face. They never ever admit, hey, the reason we're here is because of Zionist Jews. That's why they're there. Zionists off our campus, the Jewish Zionist Jews. And of course, lots of Jews do not support Israel, but they don't have any power. They don't own media. They are not even mentioned by media. I mean, a lot of people assume. I mean, in Israel, apparently 90% of the public support the policies of Netanyahu. I mean, I hope that isn't true. Of course, opinion polls can be very, very inaccurate because the people who own the opinion polls are trying to steer you. A lot of people base their opinion on what other people appear to think. If you get a person who supports the Palestinians and then you show them an opinion poll that 90% of people think Israel's great, many people would probably change their mind because they base their own opinions on what the people around them think. I sometimes try and engage with people who only get their news from mass media, and I find that in most cases they are very unreceptive to any alternative point of view, in fact become indignant and even become angry. They can't even accept a possibility that perhaps the information they've got is incorrect. I mean, how fucking dumb do you have to be to believe the media? There are alternative explanations as to what's going on, but a lot of people simply think the BBC, because they think, well, there's a guy on TV and you're just sitting here next to me. Surely the guy on TV has got more credibility. No, the guy sitting next to you on the bus has got more credibility because I'm not getting paid. They're getting paid. Do you think it'd be possible to be a BBC News anchor and say the Palestinians have been treated disgustingly? They're saying I was a maniac. Why isn't he being called out by the media? Why isn't he being called out? And then sometimes you get somebody say, yeah, well, Netanyahu's not the perfect guy, but on the other hand, Hamas. I mean, it is a fact that Hamas was created by Israel. And it's also a fact that we don't know. The statements that appear to be coming from Hamas, or rather we are told are coming from Hamas, could be coming from anyone. You know, because Israel seems to be able to dictate what Hamas says and what they do. How convenient for Israel that this occurred. Does the retaliation by the Israelis for what is supposed to be a completely unexpected event, how did Israel let it happen? They're supposed to be the best army in the world. That's what they tell us. They are the best. And they have so much experience of terrorism, and they have all these big walls with barbed wire and CCTV. How is it possible that the Israelis were caught completely off guard? And why did their army stand down? And it did. The army was nowhere in sight. This is admitted by them. Not that the media ever ask any questions like, well, surely if there is an invasion by Hamas, an unexpected, I mean, paraglider, I mean, are you joking? And the amount of people who appeared to be milling around at a music festival at 6:30, after a music concert, everybody is zonked out. In Israel, drugs are very, very heavily used. In fact, Israelis are big drug dealers themselves. In fact, at the moment, Israelis are being boycotted by the hash dealers in Morocco. So even Moroccan drug dealers don't want anything to do with them. Can you imagine how wretched you have to be when even drug dealers won't sell you any stash? Right? And again, the Jews are pretending to be the victims. Anti-Semitism is not the reason for people protesting. It is, if anything, it is a result of Israel's policies that do not appear to be opposed by any large Jewish organization. The Jewish Chronicle pretends that the Palestinians are wrong, and they're not. In fact, the Jews, you can even see news articles written pre-World War II, which state that the Jews are going to colonize Palestine. Colonize Palestine. When Golda Meir went to Palestine, it was called Palestine, and she was at the time a Palestinian, and she's admitted it herself. You can even see it in videos for those who care to look. But the problem is we're dealing with a very, very dysfunctional and ignorant public. Very, very few people know the full story. I attended a Palestinian march. It was enormous, and a lot of them, unfortunately, didn't realise, for example, that the COVID thing was a scam. They didn't realise it. You see, you've got to see the big picture. All these things are related, whether it's COVID, climate change, Ukraine, Israel, globalization, digital ID, carbon credits, CC. They're all related. You've got to be able to see all the issues at the same time. The Ukraine issue and the Israel issue and the COVID issue and the climate change issue are all related, and we have to see all these issues organically. But how can we improve the world if we can't talk to people, if people won't listen to us, if people won't consider what we have to say. I'm not asking anyone to believe what I say, but I am asking people to listen to what I have to say with an open mind, just in case I'm right. You know, a lot of people just instantly dismiss things without any analysis. I used to feel that, for example, recently, last year or two, I've become pretty convinced that the world is a plane, horizontal plane, not flat, because it isn't flat. The Earth has mountains and rivers and canyons and below sea level and so on. But the word level should be a clue. The word plane should be a clue. And many things would not make sense. Make sense only on a flat Earth that's not moving. There's no sense of movement. Water can't curve. It can't curve, and it's impossible to think that people who are in Australia are upside down relative to us, and they would have to be if the Earth is as we're told. You can't be. You can't. If somebody's on top of something or somebody's below it, it's like having a ceiling. There's somebody on top of the ceiling. I can't stand on the ceiling, can I? I'm upside down. So if the Earth is as we're told, I mean, and again, why would they lie to us? I'd agree. That's another point that a lot of people can't understand. It's like these stupid little stories that they keep creating for us about terrorists and acid attacks and stabbings and zombie knives and things like that. A lot of people don't realise the most of them, especially the ones that come with a very long backstory. Like this guy's been seen all over London. At 4 a.m. he was here, at 5 a.m. he was here, at 7 p.m. he was here, his car was seen here, his car was seen there, blah, 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 blah. And then the last is they saw him at a bridge and then he went out of sight. Anybody with a little bit of intelligence should be able to tell. But you see, people just don't think about it. Because the vast majority of people, I mean, I play sport. And it's really hard to find anyone to play sport with. You know, because everybody's busy with their girlfriend, with DIY, with their job, with their wife, with other chores, and then of course the weather has to be considered because sometimes everybody's free, but the weather isn't cooperating. So even to do something as enjoyable and beneficial as playing a game of sport becomes something. So can you imagine that these same people who've got no time even to do things they like, are they going to take time off to listen to little old me? They're going to say, well, who are you? Where's your expertise? Do you have a PhD? You know? The media aren't going to report us. And now, you know, today I got a warning on Twitter that, you know, I was engaging in spam or something like that. The completely false allegations claiming that I might be a bot or something like that. You know what I mean? And that's what we're up against. For example, Facebook are now claiming that the word Zionist is anti-Semitic, right? Just because of its use. And of course, I mean, Zuckerberg is Jewish. The guys who own Google are Jewish. They're Jews everywhere, right? Yandex, the Russian guy who owned Yandex, Jewish. Milei, that's a Jewish name. The Argentinian, the first thing he did after being elected was race over to Israel as if that's a priority. Do you think the average Argentinian gives a fucking shit about Israel? They elected him based upon putting Argentina first. And it's the same with Donald Trump. He's a Zionist. RFK Jr., Kennedy, he's a bloody Zionist as well. Starmer's a Zionist. Sunak's a Zionist. And the guy who runs the Green Party in the UK, or pretends to, is a Jew, right? And also critical of Corbyn. They're everywhere. They own everything. They control everybody's opinion. And this is going to create real anti-Semitism because, you know, if they keep accusing you of something, you might as well bloody be it, you know. I don't blame people for being genuinely anti-Semitic because there is something very badly wrong with the mentality of a lot of Jewish people. Something that is deeply, deeply wrong, right? That's not all of them. I can name people like Max Blumenthal or Glenn Greenwald or Norman Finkelstein or the late great Aaron Russo, okay, or Benjamin Freeman. I can name many fabulous Jewish people, but overall the general activity of Jewish people is very negative, and that is my 15 minutes. Thank you.